Well, good evening, everybody. And I hope that we will have a pretty good audience joining us tonight. I am Sandy Shallis, and this is Environmental Coffee House. And welcome, Bill Cimbrelo. And I am actually thrilled to have him with us. He has the pedigree that I love. His ideas, his thoughts, and his politics seem to be almost a perfect mesh for me. And I'm very pleasantly happy to have you with us. So usually I start with a little ditty on something, and I want to just welcome our people that are joining in with us, and Mindy and Lynn, and they'll be coming, and this is great. Okay. I will start with just a little bit. Oh, you're welcome. Believe me, you'll have plenty of time to talk. I'm just starting my little thing, which is telling about your district. And it is the 9th Congressional District. It encompasses the Commonwealth's Cape and Islands and South Coast and South Shore, stretching north to Norwell, south to Nantucket, east to Provincetown, and west to Fall River, with some of the oldest communities in the entire country and a great coastal district with rich history, including America's hometown of Plymouth, the traditional whaling hub of New Bedford, and the natural beauty of Cape Cod and the islands. And it's a beautiful area, and I am proud that you're here because I've spent, by virtue of the fact of my parents, 40 years being able to go up to Martha's Vineyard because that's how long they've been there. So welcome. Welcome.
Well, thank you again for having me. Thrilled to be here.
So tell me, you did run in 2012, but how did you actually get up there? You know, you have a science background and very interesting story. So let's go for a little bit of your background.
Well, so I graduated from the University of Massachusetts in Boston with a degree in chemistry, and went to work for the electronics industry, the printed circuit industry. So every circuit board, every laptop, every phone, every electronic contraption we have has some form of a circuit board inside of it. And I was in tech service for this company, which was located in Connecticut. And I used to travel about 40% of the time all over the country to the customers that made these products. Wow. So over time, I gravitated towards not so much the side of the business that was making the circuit boards, but the side of the business that was treating the runoff, the rinse waters from these processes. So these rinse waters often had copper, lead, and later I moved into the metal finishing side of the business, treating those waters. So there you had chrome, all types of regulated materials, nickel that also needed to be removed, et cetera. So over time, I developed different chemistries with the companies that I work with, and then also helped to develop equipment to treat these effluents from these facilities and remove these toxic wastes from the publicly owned treatment work so they didn't end up in our water supply.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So that's the water treatment side of my background and how I got that. Today, it's my wife and I own a remodeling business, so it's very different. And if you think back, and I'll take you back because it kind of all ties in. When I first started doing all this, America had over 3,000 printed circuit shops in the country. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, there's about 1/10 of that left, and a good chunk of that now is military, what are called captive shops. So top secret stuff going on that's only made in the United States. Most of that business went over to the Pacific Rim. Why do you think that is?
Why do you think NAFTA?
They don't have any pollution. They didn't have any pollution controls.
They didn't have controls, of course, though.
They didn't have any pollution controls. Have we seen the videos? The polluted air and the polluted waterways, and the piles of dead fish, and the Chinese wearing masks in their cities. So that's all boomerang now, where, they've basically destroyed their habitats, their environment from all this. But cheap labor, the fact that the environmental regulations weren't being enforced there, really caused a huge constriction here in the United States in the industry that produced that, and also in my business, which was in the business of servicing the tailpipe, if you will, to those industries. All right. Wow. So, there was a lot of attrition, smaller companies getting gobbled up by bigger ones and bigger ones. And eventually, I got tired of rewriting my resume. I had always been doing remodeling on the side as a kind of a hobby. And I just said, the heck with it. And we went full time with the remodeling thing.
Cool. You're a talented guy. You can work with your hands and you have a brain.
Yeah. It's, when you get to me by age, you have to reinvent yourself every so often. Otherwise,
That's one of my favorite things. I think I'm on my 5th reinvention in my life doing this. I can't believe you said that. I say this all the time. It's
Absolutely.
Great though. And it keeps us going, and everything that's been in our experience builds us up to where we are. And that's what makes you this candidate that's to me, really good candidate. So, yeah. So let's go there a little bit about your candidacy and Keating, the guy you're running against in the district, who is the entrenched incumbent Democrat, who is sits on the House Homeland Security Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee, and he takes donations from Northrop Grumman and Raytheon, and it just seems so weird. But how would you describe him? No, but I do have this one question, and I'm going to let you go with it. And I would like to know what is wrong with Keating and what is right with Bill.
All right. Well, thank you. So, you say he's the entrenched incumbent. I don't know how entrenched he is. I guess we'll find out. We've been getting some really good information here on the ground. And as you and I spoke earlier, people are tired of the status quo. And, I've told many people that the reason I'm running is because the status quo is killing us. And if you look at his record, he does take money from special interests, military, pharma. He has voted against anything other than band-aiding the Affordable Care Act, which we all know is not very affordable, whereas I'm for expanded Medicare for all. As a whole, he represents everything that I want to change, which is the fact that Washington, we elect them, but Washington leadership stays there as a result of contributions from special interests, the corporations that you mentioned, and things of that nature. So we have a really strange situation. We put them there, but corporate interests keep them there. And so we really, really need to change dramatically what we're doing there. And to start with, my campaign is not taking any money from special interests, any corporate donations. We are strictly 100% grassroots. So to me, if you can't do that getting in there to start with, if you can't show your allegiance to the people that are going to vote for you from day one, how can you then turn around and say, oh, I'm going to stand by your side once I'm in there and I'm elected? The proof is in the pudding here, and we are only taking these grassroots donations. And I will admit, it's a hard row to follow because many incumbents are sitting there raking in hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And so we're competing with that, and it's not an easy thing to do. But I also think it's the only way we can be credible once we're in there. One of the things, and I'm going to digress a little here before I get back to Keating himself, but one of the things that I hope to accomplish with my congressional tenure is that I will open up the lobbyist process to scrutiny. In other words, if you're a lobbyist and you want to come and talk to me, we're going to have that conversation, but we're going to have it one of two ways. We're either going to have it recorded so my constituents can then hear the full playback, or it's going to be an open forum. Because the way I see it is anything that a lobbyist has to say to me, they can just as much share with my constituents. I'm not going to Congress. I'm not going to Congress to enrich myself. That's not why I want to do this. This is not what this is about. We talked earlier. I have kids, and the reason I'm going there is because I want my kids to have a better tomorrow, and not to continue this status, very corrupt situation that we're in. And talking about Rep. Keating, as he's he is on the Armed Services Committee along with Tulsi Gabbard, who wrote the Stop Arming Terrorists Act.
Mm-hmm. We got that right here.
Right, and so here is on this committee. It's a pretty straightforward act. It basically says we need to stop arming terrorists, like the name implies, and yet he has not co-sponsored that bill. And it makes you stop and think, what in the world would cause someone to hesitate from agreeing to something like that? And if you have the bill there, then it basically says we're not going to arm Al Qaeda, Fatah al-Sham, the Islamic State of Iraq, and the Levant, also known as ISIL, right?
Yeah.
So these are not the boy. Yeah, these aren't the Boy Scouts here. That we're not wanting to arm, and it should be a fairly straightforward deal for him to sign on.
I think it's because of Northrop Grumman and the others, Raytheon. I mean, that's got to be his hesitancy, because there's a lot of money to be made, billions, by these companies.
Absolutely.
So that's the neoliberal corporate agenda oozing out of the man. It seems.
Well, the wars aren't meant to be won; they're meant to be continuous. You've heard that.
Oh yeah. Well, they've been all my life. I can't. I mean, our lives. We're similar age, right? Wow, it's the same. Haven't we been in a war in our entire life? Even when it was Reagan and the Contras, and I mean, it was always something.
In the history of the United States has only been not at war has been at war for 239 years of its entire existence. Okay, it's 239 years of war. So that is our chief export, if you think about it.
There you go. Pathological chief export, and it has just gotten worse. And it just really does lose me. Why did Congress appropriate so much more money for the military? What is behind that?
Well,
what's behind that?
I think you and everyone listening right now and listening later on knows exactly why. Because the people that are funding the campaigns of these incumbents have a vested interest in keeping these conflicts, this imperialism going on worldwide. And as long as we keep reelecting these individuals, that's going to keep happening. And one of the things that I'm a proponent of is, Boeing, for example, has their commercial airline division, but they also have their military division, right? So one of the things that I would like to see is one of two things. Either we end the profitability of war, okay, by saying, okay, you're whatever division is making these weapons and all that, you're not going to make a profit on that. You can go ahead and make it, but there will be no profit on that segment. All right, so we take the profit off the table from staying in war. That's one option. The other thing is, the other option would be to nationalize the defense industry. So basically, we bring it in-house. Once again, there's no profit in war. Right now, the way it is, we're making a profit. The country, certain people in the country, the 0.01%, the 1% stockholders of these companies are showing a profit every time we go out and kill 100,000 people. Okay, I mean, that's just wrong. I mean, anyone that doesn't see that, I just don't get it. But
anyone that doesn't see that has their head up their rear end, and there's a lot of them. I'm sorry. I tend to be a little bit, I don't know, crass
honest.
sometimes, but it's just making the way I feel. I mean, people are just walking around with their head up their ass. There you go. Okay.
Well, unfortunately, too many people are vote with their pocketbook, right? Right, yeah. Because there's a lot of people that are you vote your self-interest in many cases. That's undeniable. People do that. And we're at a point now on the planet that if we don't stop being self-centered and so selfish, right, we're writing our own epitaph here. We've got to start thinking past our very own pocketbook. And what does that mean? That means that people that hold our own petroleum stocks probably shouldn't be holding on to those stocks very long, because we want to move the country away from that.
Yeah, but right now they're investing like crazy under Trump. Correct. It's not happy. It's not a happy time. They're investing like crazy. I don't know who all these people are, but they obviously are climate deniers, or they don't care and they're greedy. It stymies me, but not really.
I think in a lot of cases they don't care. In a lot of cases, it's like you say, they're greedy. They're out for the fast buck, the quick turnaround, and eventually, if we don't elect people into Congress that are going to stop this trend, that are going to again make the separation from profitability of war and profitability of fossil fuels, which is getting subsidized now, right? Then this is just going to continue on. And I envision one day we're going to go outside and I'll be having to wear some kind of air tank or something to make up for polluted air or something. We're just it's a bad science fiction movie coming to life here if we keep going this way.
Yeah, do you think we're in a predicament or we're in a problem with our climate? What do you think?
I think we're in a problem that I believe can be reversed if we act soon enough. Okay, and I'm genuinely worried that we're not going to act soon enough unless people think beyond their own noses and elect people into positions of leadership at all levels, not just Congress, but at all levels in this country that have the future of the country and the planet in mind.
I could agree more.
Okay.
It's true that we really, I feel 2018 is pivotal. In a way, I've been preaching when I do live streams, I talk about it. I say, you have to get out and vote. We have to get all the climate deniers out of Congress. We have to get that element out. And it's not a joke. We don't have a lot of time. I don't know how long we have to keep farting around before we change and get this going. We have a lot of entrepreneurs. We have a lot of people that want to do the right thing, but our federal government is going to stymie it. I want to ask you, when did you become aware of climate change during your tenure as a water quality specialist? When did that actually just bing go for you, or wake up? When did you wake up?
I don't know, Sandy. I can't think of a particular moment that I said, wow, this, we're dooming in the planet. I honestly, I'm not conscious of that moment. The thing that compelled me to run even before was pretty much the same stuff we've been talking about, that our laws, environmental, all of them are really written by a special interest, corporate interests that do not have the best interest in mind of the larger population. And again, that's been the compelling factor all along. But to say that there was one aha moment, I can't say. I've always been an outdoors kind of person, whether it was coming down here. My parents retired here in Hyannis on the Cape, And so I spent many years here, but I also spent a lot of summers in New Hampshire growing up. So always very involved with nature and appreciation of nature. I'm not a hunter. I've never hunted. So, I respect all life, really.
How's Massachusetts for hunting? Is it a hunting state?
Well, it is. There's locally here. I don't know if you've kept up at all, but there was a local uh, situation here with the coyote hunting.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Like that.
so, right. So they were out there in force, and even here it stopped now. But for a time here where I'm living, every once in a while you could hear the guns going off in the distance, which is kind of scary because
Oh, I live that life.
obviously.
I'm rural. My husband is a hunter. But I will never let anybody hurt a coyote on my property or a deer. He has to go somewhere else to go hunting. But it is disconcerting about all these wildlife management programs, supposedly, that they're saying coyotes are an invasive species. It's only because of farming. It's all because of farming.
Everything I've read about coyotes is that they're self-regulating in terms of the size of their litter. There's some genetically, they have some way of knowing, how big a litter they can have to be able to survive and have a higher survival rate in their litter. So this culling of the coyotes to mitigate that is sort of unfounded, again, based on the information that I've seen.
I don't like it. I think most of my followers probably feel the same way. Do you know I had a fly just fly in front of my computer? You know what a cluster fly is? They're annoying. But this day and age, I'm happy to see every fly. I am happy to see every insect, everything. I mean, I'm sure you've read all these articles, the New York Magazine article, everything, the Annihilation article. I mean, it gets scary, but you see a bug and you want to just covet that little bug, even if they're annoying. What are your thoughts about the Anthropocene? The sixth extinction, mass extinction, Naomi Klein's book. Where are you on all of these issues?
So I'm not familiar with Naomi Klein's book, frankly. Okay. I haven't read the book.
That's okay.
So tell me specifically what you want to know.
Well, it goes into where we are entering a sixth mass extinction because species are extincting at ridiculous rates. And I'm wondering what's going on in Massachusetts, and maybe oceans. The Woods Hole has been doing research on the ocean there, or any kind of species reduction. I don't know. I'm just interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, I haven't really followed that. I mean, I've heard about this, sixth mass extinction. Of course, did not read her book, but I look at extinction here. I look at all of it, and not just the animals. I look at mankind, and we're all part of that same problem. I can remember going way back. I wrote a paper which was called the Web, and it was really talking about the ecological intertwining, like a spider web, okay, of all of us, because we're all part of that community. You can't, if you break one thread of the web, it collapses, right? And so I really think that we're all part of that entity that makes us who we are. And every time a species dies off like that, we've cut into our own future in some respect.
It is sad, but it's a fact. But going back to your particular district, and you have ocean, is there any fear of sea level rise in Massachusetts? Are people talking about it?
Absolutely. I had attended, it's got to be maybe 2 months ago now. I attended a Lower Cape Indivisible symposium on that, and they actually showed maps in the slide presentation of predicted sea levels and the number of streets that would actually end up disappearing as a result in the parts of the Cape. So, it's no joke. They're taking it seriously. They were talking about how if we're going to add affordable housing in the area, they want to make sure it's in the highest possible ground.
I would say.
Yeah, and so it's being taken seriously. What disturbed me in that is that, to your point before, there's not a lot of talk about how we're going to stop and or reverse that. It's it's almost a defeatist thing. Well, it's going to happen, so how are we going to deal with it? And the reason I'm backing the Tulsi Gabbard's HR 3671, the Off Fossil Fuel for a Better Future Act, is precisely because that starts to take those very important, necessary steps that need to be happened, so we stop our dependency on fossil fuels and start to potentially reverse the harmful effects in the atmosphere.
It's a great bill. It's a great bill. I'm just trying to pull it up because there's so much in it. I mean, it's a blueprint, and I love it. I think it's a wonderful blueprint. I have it here, and I just wanted to see a couple of things in it, but I don't know. It just seems like it's gone. I think it might have just went away from my screen, but I really like it. And one of the questions I like to ask too is, in your district, how do you think you can implement the OFF Act for corporations, companies, manufacturers, businesses, residences, everything, hospitals? How do you think it's going to happen in the district?
Well, I'll come to that in a second, but I want to mention one thing on that. If you look at Tulsi's bill, the Off Fossil Fuel for a Better Future Act, and you look at the co-sponsors that are there, there's only one rep from Massachusetts that's there. Oh. And the one rep that's there is from the 2nd Congressional District. His name is Jim McGovern, who ideologically I lined up quite a bit with, by the way. He's from the Worcester area. Interestingly enough, the 2nd District in Massachusetts is landlocked. So here you have a rep from Massachusetts who is co-sponsoring Tulsi's bill. But the rep that we have now, who is for Cape Cod, the islands, et cetera, he hasn't signed on to that. And it's his district that's going to be mostly impacted by this, as well as and the entire shoreline of Plymouth and all of that.
What are they afraid of?
What are they afraid of? They're afraid of losing they're afraid of losing their fossil fuel money for re-election. That's what they're afraid of.
There you go.
Okay, it all circles back to the same nonsense.
The same nonsense.
All right. So as far as renewable energy goes, I was in a Democratic town committee meeting a couple of weeks ago in New Bedford. New Bedford is, I'm hopeful, knock on wood, is going to take the lead here on renewable energy for the South Coast here. They're working with a couple of companies potentially that the state will actually decide which one of these companies they'll work with in New Bedford. They've already started the process, but they really need to expand on their infrastructure and really have the human resources and the in terms of trained people to be able to get the job done. And as their congressman, I would work to make sure that all the pieces are there, because we don't want to have a situation where they get this contract and then have to bring in people from out of the country or wherever to be able to make this work. We need these monies to stay in the region. We need to grow the region. We need to grow jobs and opportunity. These are a mixture of both high tech and low tech jobs, because it's manual labor as well. But these are going to be wind farms that are going to be off the coast there, and hopefully will make a lot of jobs for the region. Now, interestingly, our current Republican governor, Charlie Baker, had previously signed on to go along with a Quebec, Hydro-Quebec was the name of the company out of Canada, to run hydroelectric electricity through New Hampshire and feed into the Massachusetts power grid. Well, the New Hampshire folks didn't really like that idea. They did not allow the permitting to go through New Hampshire to be able to come into Massachusetts. So it's really put New Bedford back, excuse me, back in a good position now to promote the offshore wind power production. So I'm hopeful of that. And we talk about the water rising and the concerns relating to that. The other day, I also attended the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's hearing in Plymouth.
Very good.
Okay, we have an ancient facility there that has what is considered in the fourth column, or the lowest grade that they can give for a nuclear facility in the country. I understand there's apparently 600 jobs at stake. And again, people are thinking with their pockets, and I do get that. But at the end of the day, we have a facility that's dangerous. We had a severe winter storm here where they had to scram the plant, and basically a scram shutdown is a very quick shutdown where they put the control rods into the reactor in a much quicker time. And you've got this equipment that's very old.
Yeah.
Right now, it's on a temporary shutdown. We're told while they repair condenser coils, and I think there might be some turbine issues. So there were a number of us there that we refer to ourselves as Cape Downwinders. We're there.
Good one.
Okay. Okay. Because in the event of an event at the facility, we're all going to be contaminated. And if you recall, getting on the Cape, there's only these two little bridges, Sagamore and the Bourne Bridge, and it would be total mayhem to try and evacuate the Cape. And really, if you think about it, pardon?
There's never been a plan.
Well, they tried a plan one time, and it was total chaos. So the problem is, in order to vacate the Cape, you basically have to drive towards the problem, right? Because it's on the southern tip of Plymouth. So it's a mess. So we're hoping that Plymouth will be shut down, even though it's scheduled for shutdown, I believe, next June.
June 2019. Do you
Right.
know what they do with the waste from there?
Really good question. They actually, at this point, are keeping it on site until
like
they
everywhere
get until they get instructions from the government as to what they're going to do with it. So we've got this, potential site here that obviously was going to have to be guarded 24/7, right? It's got nuclear waste on it.
Yeah.
And there's some issues about how secure the casks that hold the spent fuel rods are, and their susceptibility to leaking. And right now, the protocol is if you have a leaky cask, you put it in a bigger cask. So, we have the Fabergé egg going here,
Absolutely. But we have that Fabergé egg everywhere. I did a live stream. I did research in a live stream on nuclear waste, because we're dealing with West Valley Nuclear here, the demonstration project, and cleanup. And I went all the way across the country to talk about Hanford. Well, I didn't go, but to talk about Hanford and put the two together. And there's so many in between. So now you're dealing with it too in your district.
And so Diane Turco, who is one of the key activists here for the Cape Downwinders, she's a great contact for you, and somebody you might actually want to have on your show. And I'll be happy to share that with you later if you like.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. So the point is that she spoke up about this and poignantly asked the nuclear regulatory guys up there, can something go wrong? And just yes or no, can something go wrong? And they had to say yes, something could go wrong. And, at the end of the day, they say, they're there to make sure nothing goes wrong. And the people working at the plant say they're there to make sure nothing goes wrong. But they also said the Titanic was unsinkable. and in fact, the engineer of the Titanic was so sure of himself that he was on the maiden voyage of the Titanic and went down with the ship. So stuff goes wrong. Nature can do things. Human nature can do things. You've got people here that are supposedly going to be farmed out to other jobs. But in the meantime, are they going to be leaving there and leaving the facility undermanned? So these are all viable concerns. So I spent a lot of time on that, but it's important to us here in the 9th District. And it's also important that those people are given a good opportunity to get high-paying technical jobs to replace the jobs they have. So they think beyond, just that facility.
That's excellent, forward thinking, articulate and wonderful and great for your district. I mean, I'm really happy to hear what you're saying, your whole affect. I really would like to tell who's watching, and then we're going to share this, to please donate if you can to Bill, because I also know that the Republicans are eyeing this district. They would like to take this district over. I read it in one of these, it's the National Republican Congressional Committee, and they would like to take this away from Democrats, although Ballotopedia rated the area as safely Democratic. You just don't know these days, but let's hope it stays that way. And yeah, you're because you're very progressive and it's wonderful. So the feedback when you meet people, when you go out, how's that been?
It's been awesome. It's been a great experience to meet everyone face to face. The reaction, I'll be out there with the nomination sheet getting signatures still, which we're, by the way, very close to completing. Yeah. So we're pretty assured at this point. We're definitely going to be on the ballot because we've got the signatures. And as we're going through the process, sometimes people will be sort of reluctant at first, and when I'm out there with one of the team members, he'll talk about me and saying, and he's for the environment and all this and all that. And then I'll pipe in. I say, and I'm right here. And they'll swing around. He says, oh, he's right here. And then they sign right away because I'm involved. I'm part of that. This is a campaign that the people matter. Their input matters. And I've had people say to me, who are you running against? And I'll say, I'm running against Rep. Keating. And they say, can I sign twice? So,
wow. I guess that's a little bit of a barometer of what's going on.
It's been an interesting reaction and heartwarming to see that really progressive values are so strong in the area. It's my understanding that Bernie Sanders won the district for the primary here. So I'm hoping that we bring those folks out to vote for me as well. And, I align very strongly with folks out there like Tim Canova, who's a very strong progressive. And I don't know if you've had him on before. No,
I know Tim. I haven't had him on yet, but we will. We'll get there. We've been going back and forth since 2016. So yeah, I would love to have him on. I don't do a lot of shows every month. I do maybe 4 or 5 if I can, but we've had a lot of things happening. So I'm just getting back in the swing of this part. But we have a 24/7 Facebook page and a YouTube and a Twitter, and I'm one person, but I have a team. It's actually a pretty nice little organization, this little thing we've built with Environmental Coffee House. It is very nice. It is nice. So would like to hear your closing comments, what you would like. I typically like to keep the interviews about 40 minutes and 45 minutes so people, they stay engaged. And then it also leaves us open to have another one because I think your primary is in September?
September 4th.
Yeah, so you have some time to get out there and do a lot of PR for yourself. I like that. That's great. So I'm going to tell you, take it away. Tell everybody what you'd like to tell them. Everything from your heart's desire or what you want.
Sure. Thank you. Well, so here's the thing. I myself can't do anything without the help of the people, right? I can sit here and pound my chest and talk about all the wonderful things I'm going to do, but by myself, I'm nothing. I need the support of people that have the same concerns about their future, the future for their kids, healthcare, affordable education, $15 minimum wage. These are all things I support. And many of the people that follow me on Facebook and on Twitter stand with me on these issues, and they're near and dear to their hearts. But of greater concern here is that we need to really have what I call a progressive tsunami this year in the midterms, more so than anywhere else. Because if we just keep electing the same status quo type of corporate Democrats, we're not really going to move in the direction that we as a nation, a country, and the world needs to move in terms of environmental concerns, because these people are still carrying all that corporate and special interest baggage with them. So I would say, take a good hard look, not just at my campaign, but go out and take a good hard look at all the progressives that are out there, and they're running good, strong, honest campaigns, grassroots, not taking corporate money like the incumbents. And that's the message, is that we've got to all help each other to get there. So we make what I call a beachhead, if you will, in Congress, and we go in and we help people like Tulsi Gabbard pass this the Off Fossil Fuel Act for a better tomorrow. Okay, so she can't do it alone. She can't do it with the people that are in there now. Okay, and Ro Khanna is another. She needs us, and she needs people like me, like Tim Canova, et cetera, and there's hundreds of us. So that's what I would say. Go out there, help us as best you can, volunteer, donate, door knock. Phone banking can be done from anywhere in the country. Please sign up on the website, which I can now share if I may.
Absolutely, and I'll put it in the comments and everything. Why wouldn't you be able to? This is great.
All right. So the website is my name, BillCimbrelo.com. And you'll find there all the links for everything that we just talked about. And on Twitter, I'm extremely active, also with the hashtag, not hashtag, but at Bill_Cimbrelo. And then on Facebook, we have a growing audience with the name Bill Cimbrelo. So that's what I have.
I think it's great. Thank you. You are an energetic, absolutely fantastic candidate. And I've interviewed a lot of candidates, but I don't know why. I feel like all of your thoughts are along with everything I think. So I'm pretty impressed. I like what you said about the changing over to renewable, the Off Fossil Fuel Act. Having a future vision is important, even if we are facing the toughest time on the earth. It is an exciting time to be alive. We don't know what the future holds. We do know we have some significant problems, but we still have to vote. We have to get out there. We have to fight. And I say it all the time. We can't sit back and we can't say, well, we're screwed because everything's so messed. No, we have to fight. And you're a fighter.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us. Really great. And I hope we can do this again before September.
I'm sure. Thank you.
Right.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Everybody, I'm going to, Bill, stay on for a second. Everyone, I'm going to say goodbye. And thank you all for coming. Share. We've got to get this one out. This was a great interview and with a great person. And I'm really proud to have you on. So I'm going to end this. Good night, everyone. Peace.